What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Big Daddy Arculus, here with another RETROwbacks episode. In this video, we'll talk about the third pillar of Nintendo's original IPs, Metroid. Metroid is a sci-fi action-adventure game originally released in Japan for the Family Computer in August 1986. North America received the release in August 1987 on the Nintendo Entertainment System in a ROM cartridge format, with a European release followed in January the following year. It was produced by Gunpei Yokoi of Game & Watch fame, and it was directed by Satoru Okada and Masao Yamamoto, and the music was composed by Hirokazu Tanaka. Set on the planet Zebes, or Zebes, anyway I'll go with how us Pinoys pronounce it. Set on the planet Zebes, the story follows Samus Aran as she attempts to retrieve the parasitic Metroid organisms that were stolen by space pirates, who plan to replicate the Metroids by exposing them to beta rays and then use them as biological weapons to, I don't know, maybe hold the galaxy hostage? What do space pirates do anyway? Do they pillage like normal pirates? The game's style, which focuses on exploration and the search for power-ups that are used to reach previously inaccessible areas, influenced other video games and created a subgenre for action-adventure games called Metroidvania. Its varied endings for fast completion times made it a popular game for speedrunning and to nerdbirds who wants to unlock and see Samus in various stages of undress. Speaking of which, the game was lauded for being one of the first video games to feature a female protagonist, though the player must complete the game in under 5 hours for this to be revealed.
Yeah, looking at you ignorant Twitter guy who thinks Ellie was the first video game heroine ever. And no, it isn't Miss Pac-Man neither, because Miss Pac-Man was just a modification of the original game, which Midway sued the creator for, so she doesn't count.
With the game's English language instruction manual even using he to refer to Samus as a way to mislead the gamer into thinking that the game's protagonist is male. Speaking of the manual, don't you just love those little booklets? I know I did. The first thing I do when I get a new game is to get the manual from inside and smell the paper. Oh, those were the times. I appreciate that the digital copies of these Metroid games include e-manuals for our perusal. Metroid was both a critical and commercial success. Reviewers praised its graphics, soundtrack, and sight controls. Nintendo Power ranked Metroid 11 on their list of the best games for a Nintendo console. On Top 100 Games list, it was ranked 7 by Game Informer and 69 by Electronic Gaming Monthly. However, I did find the game really dated now, and most contemporary gamers would too, especially those who have no experience with 8-bit games. I've seen this game back in the 80s played by my older cousins, but I never took a liking to it due to its scary and ominous tone, as I mentioned in the first RETROwbacks episode. Fortunately, there is an alternative. In 2004, a remake was released for the Game Boy Advance handheld system called Metroid Zero Mission. This game is more than just a simple port to the handheld and even more than a simple remake with updated graphics. It is a remaster and the definitive way to play the first chapter of the Metroid saga. For starters, Zero Mission now allows Samus to shoot diagonally and while crouching, unlike the original's limited two-direction shooting. Samus can even shoot multiple directions while jumping. Aside from that, Samus can now perform several moves and power-ups that were part of other Metroid games but were not present in the NES original. I'm talking about the Power Grab, the Charge Beam, Plasma Beam, Super Missiles, Space Jump, Power Bombs, not that kind of Power Bomb, this one, Speed Boost, and Shine Sparking, which I had to learn via guides in the internet as it was not taught in the manual. Samus also gets another suit after the famous Varia suit in this remake, called the Gravity Suit. Aside from these upgrades, there are also some quality of life improvements to the game, like having accessible save rooms to save your progress, and opening red doors only takes one missile this time around compared to the original's 5. Getting health orbs and missile refills are also easier to obtain in Zero missions, something that the devs probably tweaked with the game's RNG system. And then there's the addition of a map by pressing the start button aside from the minimap on the upper right corner of the screen. The first game would have you drawing the map on a piece of paper if you don't have a photographic memory, so the map is a huge improvement. Have I mentioned the cutscenes? Not yet. Cutscenes in Zero Mission are the little cherries on top of this wonderful game, and they show up at the right moment to flesh out the story. By the way, they're relatively short, so they do not bog down your momentum in the game like some modern titles that have oh so lengthy cutscenes. The only thing I liked better from the original game was the music. For some reason, I find it more ominous than Zero Mission's cheerful tunes. Coming into this game, I was dreading the backtracking aspect I've heard about, but when I started to play it, it wasn't really that much of a drag to go back to rooms or corridors you previously could not access. Certainly better than my backtracking experience in Skyward Sword Episode 3 of the series, link in the description and the card above. And although Zero Mission can be a linear game like the original Metroid, much of it can be completed in a non-linear fashion by a sequence breaking, making it possible to complete the game by collecting as little as 9% of all items. The boss fights were also reworked and mostly improved, especially with Craig. No contest there. The only negative I can say about Zero Mission is the Mother Brain battle. It's still frustratingly bad, and the artificial difficulty got even worse. Projectiles are now faster than the original and are more random, plus getting into the lava gives you an added layer of frustration on top of that. Yeah, this boss fight is the single most frustrating part of this game. Okay, so the original NES game ends right about here when you escape planet Zebes after beating Mother Brain. But not Zero Mission. You're only halfway done, compadre. You get a whole new game with Samus without her armor, and it's played more like a stealth game than the first half of the game. This is the final reason why this game is the definitive edition and a definite remaster. I won't spoil the ending for you, but I do recommend Metroid Zero Mission not just for retro gamers, but to all self-proclaimed gamers out there. It's a certified classic and must play. I give it a 9 out of 10 rating, and it is in the running for the best Game Boy Advance game of all time, along with the Minish Cap. Original Metroid only gets 5 out of 10 from me. Play it for the experience if you want, or if you're a masochist, but for newer and younger gamers, I would suggest Zero Mission. Zero Mission. Zero Mission!